Hello, everyone. Good morning. Gosh, it feels like a long time since I've done a live by myself. Is that real or am I just imagining that? Hello? Would anyone like to pop on with me? I'm going to talk about the ancestors. Oh, there's my good friend Tori. Good morning. I have some chai here. I'm on a chai kick, and I think it's because my subconscious is wishing for cooler weather. There's Tiffany. Good morning. Good morning. How are y'all this morning? I'm coming to you from my little bird's nest of a studio here. It's my happy place. Ooh, a black and mild and a cream soda. What? She's on the luxury train. There you go. Are you in your car? I apologize for the state of my hair. I did not have time to get it all dry this morning. If anyone knows anything about curly hair, you know that it's a thing, and some things can be rushed. Therefore, I have wet hair. It was wash day, and wash day is a thing. Okay, I'm going to talk about ancestors, and I want to share a little bit of my, this like one curl that's itching me, a little bit of my journey with this. So one of the things that I've learned as I've been working and trying to disconnect and detach myself from the construct of whiteness, which is a journey I've been on for several years now. One of the things that I've learned from multiple teachers, I'm sorry that I can't tell you exactly which one or which ones, probably Layla Salad, probably some others also. But I'm sorry, I'm learning from so many teachers that sometimes it's hard for me to remember who says what or where I read what. But one of the things that there's kind of a consensus among anti-racism teachers is that one of the things that I, as a white person, can do to disconnect and detach myself from whiteness is to reclaim my own ethnic heritage if I can, which I think isn't always possible, but in some cases it is. Sometimes our ancestries are lost to history, or perhaps we came from a culture that doesn't practice written record keeping, or perhaps we were adopted, or we had a parent who was adopted, and so sometimes those waters are just more murky, and it's harder to find information about our heritage. But I my whole life have been doing something that I've learned is pretty destructive, and that is basically just like calling myself like white. Like I don't know what my heritage is. I don't know what my identity is. I'm just sort of like a, um, a Western European descendant mutt kind of a thing. And I've learned that that's actually not a helpful thing for me to do. It's not something that I want to continue to do. So one of the things that I've been doing is trying to reclaim my own ancestry. And this has been such an interesting journey. I've learned so much, and I for sure have a better sense of who I am and where I came from as a result of doing this. And I have a better sense of my own ethnic identity. And I think one of the problems with whiteness is that one of the reasons, at least from my perspective, okay, not an expert in anti-racism teaching, but I am a student, and so one of the things that I observe is that um, whiteness appropriates, and I suspect that it's in part because we let go of cultural uniqueness and cultural distinctness in order to assimilate into whiteness. Those of us who are white. So my journey has been really interesting, and I think about the scriptures, and I think about the words of. Oh, sorry, I'm missing comments. Why are they not popping up? Yes, Euromutts, exactly. And I think that's not good for us to hang on to, or for us to like hang our hat on as our identity, because that's that's a construct of whiteness. And I'm not saying hard and fast. I'm just saying this has been my journey, and I want to share my journey with you this morning. Um, oh, Tiffany's saying she has a Czech background. Oh, that's awesome. So I spent like a whole day on ancestry.com. You can do this. You have to block out some time, but they have like a 2-week free trial where you don't have to pay for their service unless you want to keep on going. And I traced my maternal line. I want to go back to the scriptures because I think there's scriptures that surround this. But I decided that I would trace my maternal line back as far as I could go. And in part, I chose maternal line because I feel a little bit more resonant with that line, and also because just it happens to be in my family that line has a more distinct cultural heritage that I can hang on to. So my maternal line all are in Louisiana, and then prior to Louisiana in Nova Scotia. So in Louisiana, they're Cajuns, and then, but before that, they were in Nova Scotia, and they were Acadians or Acadiens. And I was able to trace my mothers, the mothers, the mothers, the mothers of the mothers. In fact, I'll tell you their names. They're beautiful. I'm the daughter of Melinda. Melinda is the daughter of Virginia. Sorry, I need to silence this. Virginia is the daughter of Alice, then Sarah Cynthia, Scholastique, Emerante, Scholastique again, Louise, Marie Anne, Marie Joseph, Marguerite, Marie, another Marie, and Edme. This woman's name was Edme Ame Lejeune. And her mother was, best I can tell, an indigenous Micmac First Nations woman in Nova Scotia. The Micmac endure to this day in Nova Scotia. There are quite a few tribes. I've been researching them. I do not believe that gives me any claim to like indigenous identity or First Nations heritage or identity or anything, but I do find it deeply soul healing to know that as far back as I can get my mothers, the mothers of the mothers of the mothers, there is this woman. I don't know her name. I know she was born around the year 1600, and she married a man who was a French immigrant to Acadia, to Nova Scotia, and his name was Pierre Lejeune. And so they were my grandparents. And these women, the names that I just read to you, these women are inhabiting my imagination in a new way. And I feel connected to them. I feel more connected to their culture. I know that they have, so Cajun culture is a very unique and distinctive ethnic heritage, and it has linguistic heritage, it has a musical heritage, it has its ancestral foodways, and it has a very defined sense of place. And so for me, just for these women to inhabit my imagination has been deeply, deeply soul healing for me, and has helped me to feel grounded in a way. So when I consider that when I think, and it's just a thought, it's not real, but I think that I have no culture because all I have for culture is whiteness. That gives me a sense of ungroundedness, like I'm just a balloon floating and I don't have like my roots on the earth, my feet on the earth with the cultural heritage. And so this work that I've been doing of learning about my ancestry, and I still have a lot more to learn, but I was specifically so curious about the mothers, is healing me in a very deep way. And I highly recommend the practice if you can. Like I say, not everybody can do it because of, various things, and sometimes history is lost. It's just the way of it. But my culture happens to be one that kept records, and they kept birth and death and marriage records, and I was able to go on ancestry.com and piece all the pieces together and figure out who the mothers were with some degree of accuracy. There might be some mistakes in there, I'm sure. But they're living in my imagination in a way that I think the author of Hebrews articulates really beautifully as a cloud of witnesses. I think these women have become names, and I think I can even imagine faces in my own ancestry and my cloud of witnesses. I want to just read to you, that comes from Hebrews 12. Oh, I have it up over here. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and the sin that clings so closely, and let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus as the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, who, for the sake of the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, disregarding its shame, and has taken his seat at the right hand of the throne of God. So these women are become my cloud of witnesses, or part of my own personal cloud of witnesses, and I can feel them in sort of a mystical way that I can't explain very well, strengthening me for the race and giving me perseverance. And I'm imagining what the lives that they lived and the experiences that they had, and I know that they were not anywhere near perfect. I know that they participated in oppression. I happen to know that the most recent Scholastique's husband fought for the Confederacy, and I haven't figured out all the details surrounding that yet, but I know that's true. And so part of that is going back and examining the shadow side that's inside the ancestry. And I'm also thinking, as I'm thinking about ancestry and my own unique ethnic heritage and cultural heritage, I'm thinking about Luke 14. And in Luke 14, first there's the parable of the banquet. Remember where one of the dinner guests, on hearing this, said to him, "Blessed is anyone who will eat bread in the kingdom of God." And Jesus said to him, "Someone gave a great dinner and invited many. At the time for the dinner, he sent his slave to say to those who'd been invited, 'Come, for everything is ready.' But they couldn't find people who wanted to come." Okay, I'm paraphrasing now. "I've bought a piece of land and I need to go see it. Except for my regrets, I can't come." So then the owner says, "Go out at once into the streets and the lanes of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. And those will be the guests at my table." And then right after that, right after that is when Jesus says to a large crowd of people, he says this really cryptic thing. He says, "Whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and even life itself, cannot be my disciple." And it's my current belief that the evangelical Christianity that raised me and the whiteness that raised me focused too much on this verse where Jesus says, "Hate your father and mother," and not enough on the banquet. Because I chuckle when I think of it, because it's a cryptic thing to say, hate your father and mother. What does that mean? It's almost like Jesus wants us to not examine our ancestry and not to be connected. But then there's a contradiction, and Jesus is inviting us instead, as we see in the banquet story, to become part of a greater community, to become citizens of a wider family, and to take care of a wider family, and to not just only focus on the needs of my one insular first family. Instead, we become citizens and a part of something bigger than that, of something wider, of a table that is longer and more inclusive and more welcoming than just that. And at the same time, both the book of Luke and the book of Matthew include the genealogy of Jesus. Both. Just a few chapters before, in Luke 3, the scripture lays out the genealogy of Jesus. Interesting to note, the genealogy included in Matthew differs in a number of ways from the one in Luke. But I think whiteness and the evangelical construct that I grew up in wanted me to forget about my ancestry. It wanted me so that there could be an us and them. I'm not super clear on that. I'm still working out on my thoughts about that, but I know that it's important for me, at least at this stage of my journey, to go back and learn about my ancestors, to connect with them, and to take comfort and strength from the cloud of witnesses that they are to me, in all of their imperfection, in all of their foibles and flaws, in the ways that they didn't see clearly, in the ways that they oppressed. And the point, I think, is, or at least that I'm coming to understand, is that I am working to redeem the legacy of my ancestors in many ways. I'm both working to affirm their legacy and also redeem it. So those are my thoughts about ancestry. And someday I'm going to go to Nova Scotia and I'm going to learn more about Edme Ame Lejeune and her mother, who, from what I can tell, was a First Nations woman in the Micmac tribe. So if you can block off some time, go to Ancestry.com and do their free trial and see if you can't go back a few generations and figure out your unique heritage and who your people were, who was your mother, who was your mother's 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 mother. All right, y'all. Blessings for the day. Blessings for the week. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I will be on with Matt and Aurelia tomorrow morning. See ya.